Whatever type of music you're into, it may surprise you to learn that things that sound very different from each other on the surface are in fact using the same basic musical tools and techniques. Looking at the mechanics of a beautiful tune, a sweet chord, or a hot driving rhythm is a gratifyingly democratic process. When you analyse the nuts and bolts of music, you find that the apparent differences between musical cultures, between Eastern and Western, between folk and jazz, or between classical and pop, start to melt away. The underlying techniques and tricks of good music can be and are applied to virtually any and every style.
In this series, I'm going to look under music's bonnet and find out what makes it tick, how music works. We'll be looking at rhythm, harmony and bass, but we'll start with music's soul, melody. Melody is music's most powerful tool when it comes to touching our emotions. Our mothers sing lullabies to us when we're infants, and tests have shown that we can even, as babies, recognise tunes we heard in the womb. Tunes can act as a bridge between cultures when language fails us. People can feel totally wrapped up in operas and musicals whose text they don't understand or don't remember because the melodies somehow convey the story and the feelings on their own. Tunes can inspire patriotism, hope and redemption, and they lie at the heart of most of the world's faiths. They can express love, loss and longing. What is it then about a good melody that makes it so effective?
At first hearing, all the world's many musical systems, from Africa to Indonesia, from the Andes to the Urals, do indeed sound very different from each other. But actually, some melodic principles are universal and hold true for every culture on Earth.
Listen to these 5 songs from around the world. They all share something simple and profound.
Alunde, 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 aluya. Alunde, 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 aluya.
让我来将你摘下，送给别人家。茉莉花呀，茉莉花。
Deep river, my home is over Jordan.
Gaiye Ganapati Jagavandana, Gaiye Ganapati Jagavandana.
I am sailing home again, cross the sea.
These songs are all based on 5 notes. What's more, they all use the same 5 notes. That's right, every music system in the world shares these 5 notes in common. Indeed, they're so fundamental to every note composed or performed anywhere on the planet that it seems, like our instinct for language, that they were pre-installed in us when we were born. These 5 notes are a human genetic inheritance, like the fingers on our hands. In the West, we call tunes made from these 5 notes pentatonic, after the ancient Greek word for 5, pentas. These are they.
It's easy to find the pentatonic notes on a piano keyboard because they're the black notes. An enormous number of popular tunes throughout history have been based on a pentatonic shape, especially the sing-along anthems, from Auld Lang Syne to Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and Mull of Kintyre.
A lot of anthemic rock songs oscillate around pentatonic patterns too. The famous riff from Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love is quintessential pentatonica. But basing your melody on the pentatonic pattern didn't mean you were stuck with just those 5 notes. All musical cultures developed more notes as time went on. But it's important to emphasise that having lots of notes didn't make your tune necessarily better, it just made it different. The key thing is not how many notes you have, but what you do with them. So our next task is to dismantle the elements of a tune one by one and work out what they're up to. How does melody work? Let's get some definitions out of the way first. There are 3 main ingredients to every melody: the notes you choose, how high or low they are, and the pattern they make one after another. So let's start with the notes you pick in the first place. In theory, the choice is infinite. How many notes you have depends on how small you want the distance between the notes to be.
If you arrange your notes too closely together, you might have a problem distinguishing between them. My synthesizer can tell me that these 2 notes, this one and this one, are measurably quite different notes, but only a very finely tuned human ear could pick that up. To most people, it sounds like the same note. It's no surprise, then, that all known musical systems have chosen notes that are recognisably different. Here's the Western one. Think of the notes as rungs on a ladder. This, in short, is how all musical scales or ladders work. You decide how close together you want your rungs to be, and you make each rung a note. Now, some musical systems have 24 rungs in their ladder. In Western music, we have 12. In Chinese and Indian music, there are many more rungs on the ladder, and so the notes are much closer together. So, we've got our basic notes then, but now we have to decide how high or low these notes are. The measuring of how high or low a musical note is called pitch. Now, if I blow down this organ pipe, I will produce a note. The note is called A. But if I blow down this other organ pipe exactly half the size, it'll also produce a note called A. This A is obviously much higher. Same note name, different pitch. The pitch of a musical note tells you how high or low it actually is. On our Western musical ladder, every 12th rung is another A. The next element in melody is the distance between notes, between your A and your C and your E and your G, for example. These distances are called intervals, and they've got nothing to do with queuing at the ladies' loo when you go to the theatre.